Hi, my name is Wahiga and welcome to the Mental Wellness channel. In this channel, if you're new here, I talk about substance abuse, mental illness, and mental wellness and recovery. So today I'm going to give you my story of being an alcoholic. My name is Wahiga and I am an alcoholic. But to start the story, we have to go all the way back. I was a very violent child, I would say. I wasn't happy. I was irritable, discontented, and I had no joy. And when I got to about 12, that's the point that I actually got really dark. I listened to a lot of dark music. My thoughts were dark. And I basically pushed away my family. And I would just hang around and self isolate in my room, just listening to music and being alone with my fantasies and my dark thoughts. Somehow they became the enemy, and I don't know what switched. But at 12, I remember being very angry with them, and I just couldn't function with the family. So I brought in dysfunction into the family from that age and onwards. When I was about 14, I went to my first party with no parents there, and there was booze, there was weed. And I remember having, I think, three or four ciders, and the alcohol did not mean much to me then. However, when I was 15, I had my first blackout. At 15, I remember going to a party and saying, tonight I'm gonna get screwed up and I'm gonna drink everything. And I drank everything that I can remember, whether it was white, red, clear, brown, frothy. I didn't care. I drank it. And I had a blackout, which was really embarrassing because everyone in school found out, and it was really embarrassing. And then I swore off alcohol. I remember at 15, I swore off alcohol. I said, this thing is not for me. But at 17, I started clubbing again. And so I started drinking again. And I thought it was a more controlled drink. I would do cocktails and I would do wine and I wouldn't do the hard stuff. And when I came back to Kenya in 2010, I was 18 and I got into university. So I had high hopes for my life. I wanted to build my acting career as well as do my degree in journalism. And I was doing both great. I was also on the basketball team. So I had a very well rounded life. But at the end of every day, I would have a glass of wine with some chocolate, because I was finally alone in my own place. And when I'd watch TV, sitcoms or any series, the women normally have a glass of wine and, just sit back and lay back after a long day of work. And so that's what I would do. At that point, I could take or leave the alcohol. I would go out with my friends to the club and, we'd drink a few ciders here and there. We'd have a shot or two of tequila. We'd get the buzz, and then that would be it. We go home. And we did that. And in September of 2011, I landed my first big role, which was in MTV Sugar. And I had a great time shooting, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is, my life is becoming what I want it to be. These are my dreams. I've thought about this for so long, and finally I'm here. But in 2012, my drinking increased, and suddenly I wasn't able to make it to classes. I wasn't attending to group work or anything like that. I wasn't handing in assignments. I fell back with my studies. And whenever I did get back to class, I would be reeking of alcohol. So suddenly I moved from a weekend drinker to a weekday drinker. And if my class was at 3 p.m., there's no ways I was going to class sober. I mean, how was I going to stay the whole day without drinking? This was my mentality at the time. So I'd have a couple of beers, a couple of shots, and then go to class. And this one lecturer, I remember, he put me in the very front of the class so that he could smell me. And he'd be like, today's vodka. And I'd be like, man, that was from yesterday, ah, no, it's not today, da da da. And that's when I started getting my fails, my withdrawals, my D pluses, and my grades really suffered. By the end of 2012, I was a daily drinker, and I had decided that, you know what, school and class is getting in the way of my drinking. So let me just drink and forget about this whole school business. And so that's what I did. And in 2013, it got really bad now. My whole set of friends changed. My friends became worse and worse and worse, because I needed to look for people who drank like me. So we'd all be at the bottom of the barrel. We'd wait at the kiosk at 7 a.m., me shaking and trembling, just waiting to buy a Sun Lemon for 120 shillings so that I could drink it and just get well. And in 2013, I remember I made the conscious decision that, you know what, alcohol was my best friend. It worked for me, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to follow my whole life. My life took a serious dip after that. Now the consequences started happening. I was kicked out of all 3 hostels that my parents were paying for. I became basically homeless. I refused to come back home. So I was just living on sofas to sofa to sofa to bed to floor to whatever someone would have me sleep. And it was a really bad time because, that sometimes I'd black out and just sleep in the bar. Or there were times that I would, I'd organize with a watchman if I could sleep in his car home, and then we drink the booze together. There's a time I slept or whatever in a taxi. I mean, there was, whenever it was time to black out, that's where I would black out, whether it be the club, whether it be the floor, the ditch. That's what happened. And things got serious. But I clung on to alcohol because of what it did to me and for me. Alcohol made me feel free. It gave me a sense of relief. It made me feel like I fit in. It completely alleviated my depression and my anxiety. It made me feel part of, and it made me feel invincible. When I had alcohol in me, I had the slickest mouth. I would talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. I had a bubbly personality, and I wasn't shy anymore. I could talk to anyone I wanted to, however I wanted to. I did not care. I had an alter ego, and I loved the effect that alcohol had on me. I loved drinking because of what it did for me. I simply cannot say it another way. However, incrementally, and alcoholism is so insidious because I cannot tell you when I passed from being a social drinker who could drink with other people and then go home and leave the alcohol alone to being a daily drinker who has to have a drink to get through the day. I can't tell you where that line was crossed. And that's not the point. The point is I'm an alcoholic, and that's what it is. Eventually, 2013, 2014 were a blur. I never used to shower much. I would just move from house to house of whoever I was drinking with, and then I'd get kicked out. It was a very undignified way of living. I remember I used to walk around with a bag of clothes, um, just to change. And normally I would just lose my clothes, and I didn't know how that would happen. Then in 2015, I started getting blackouts. And in 2015, that was my first time in rehab. It was not a good experience, because in that rehab, people were being beaten up. We were held in there like we're prisoners, like we are criminals. And yeah, there was a time that I did get slapped by one of the counselors, uh, or bodyguards, whatever they were, and I punched him back. Anyways, yeah, so I stayed there for almost 5 months. And when I got out, it wasn't even a month before I relapsed and I went back to drinking. I remember that drink was Gilby's gin, and I really hated gin, but I was desperate. I had been clinging so hard to sobriety, and to do the right thing. But when I took a sip of that Gilby's, whew, just like that, all that tension, all that clinging on, it just left my body and I could relax. I used to say I used to drink to think. Like if something bad had happened and I just woke up, or came to rather, I would look around and be like, I need a drink to think about what just happened, you know? So I was like that for a while. It went back to the same old thing, leaving home for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just staying at different people's homes, getting kicked out because um, I had overstayed, my welcome, and getting into trouble. Um, it was awful. And then I just started hanging out in the bars that would be open 24/7, and just sleep there and drink a cup of keg for 25 bob. And I would drink it with a straw because that would make it more concentrated, and then I'd mix some Napoleon inside there so that it can give me a kick. And that's just the life I lived. I had no ambitions, I had no dreams. My life goal was to drink. That's all I saw, that's all I wanted. And 2016, it was a blur. I really can't tell you anything that happened in 2016. That's how the years used to go. It's like, oh, Happy New Year's. Oh, it's another year. Oh, Happy New Year's. Oh, it's another year. Yeah, let's drink to that. And it would be my license to drink. Every day was a drinking day. We drink on Mondays because of Monday blues. We drink on Tuesdays because K1 was open. We drink on Wednesdays because Barker's had a really nice ladies' night thing going on. We drink on Thursdays because, hey, it's Thursday. We drink on Fridays because, of course, you have to drink on a Friday. You drink on Saturday because it's a Saturday. We drink on Sunday because we have to watch the soccer games. It was a crazy life. And I stopped lying to myself. I just said, me, I'm drinking just because I'm drinking. There's nothing to celebrate here. Towards the end of 2016 and beginning of 2017, the consequences of my drinking became more severe. And you can imagine being a woman, a young woman, outside here in these streets of Nairobi at 2 a.m., at 4 a.m., the characters that you encounter. And you're drunk. You're drunk, you're defenseless, there's nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, you're still telling yourself, I'm invincible, nothing will ever happen to me, you know? And my luck ran out. And after that incident, something shook me, and I was like, are we really willing to go this far for alcohol? Like, is this the plan? And I remember that's the first time I questioned my drinking. But I knew at the same time I couldn't stop. I had tried. I had tried rehab by that time 3 times, and it did not work. So I drank and I continued drinking. And one day I was on Kiamburu Road drinking, and the next thing I remember, I was in Voi on my way to Mombasa. I had no money. I had the clothes on my back. And I was at that point where you're kind of hungover, but you're also drunk at the same time. Like the hangover is coming, and the liquor is just leaving your body. And that's the time that you need a fix, because if not, I was gonna get sick. And of course, I got sick. I got to Mombasa, swindled my parents for money to pay the taxi that I had gone with. And then I thought, you know what, it would be a great idea to go to Watamu. And I went to Watamu thinking that it's 30 minutes away from Mombasa. It was 3.5 hours away. I got to Watamu and it was about 5, 6. I sat on the beach. I looked at the water and I thought, I've really, really, really messed up now. I mean, I don't know anyone in Watamu. I don't know where do people go to sleep in Watamu. And I looked, there was a bar on the beach. I looked at it and I said, I can't drink. I can't do it. Who knows where I'm going to end up after this? I mean, the drink is what got me here. I had no idea where that idea came from, but I ended up in Watamu. Alcohol makes you travel places without you even knowing it. If you drink like I drank, you'd understand what I'm saying. I had no idea how I got to Watamu. And now I was in a fix. Luckily, my parents had a friend in Malindi, and she gracefully took me in. And I went to Malindi and stayed with her and her husband for a while, a few days. But even there, my alcoholism was very obvious. I was very restless, very irritable. I was sick. I mean, physically sick, mentally sick, spiritually sick. And by the time I came back home, of course I knew I'd be in a lot of trouble. And I took it. But at that time, I never really used to listen to people. I never listened. Why? I was only calculating my next drink. That's what I was doing. And so I continued drinking. The first opportunity I got to leave the house, I continued drinking. And I would be out there for days on end, in the same clothes, drinking back to back. My life had become just this. It's either I'm drunk or I'm sick. It's either I'm in withdrawals or I'm drunk. And I really didn't mean to get drunk. I just wanted to feel better. I wanted the alcohol to do for me what it did for me in 2011, which was make me happy and bubbly and fun and invincible. But now the alcohol was depressing me, and it was making me sad. It was making me suicidal. At that time, my body started to bloat, and even though I wasn't drinking, my stomach was bloated. My eyes were beginning to get yellow. They were already brown, but they were getting yellow. My face was always flushed, and it was also bloated. And I knew I was dying. I knew I was dying, and I knew that there was nothing that I could do about it. All the lectures in the world, seeing the pain in my parents' eyes, all the rehabs, all the prayers, nothing, nothing could stop me from drinking. A lot of people thought towards the end that I was drinking because I wanted to drink. I would tell you from 2016 up to the beginning of 2017, I drank against my will. I drank to get by. I drank just to function. I drank so that I could just eat a slice of bread. That's why I drank. It was completely against my will. And people would tell me, just stop, just stop. But I'm not a normal person. I'm an alcoholic. And I classify myself as an alcoholic because, one, I'm allergic to alcohol. I do not react normally to alcohol like other people do. I react abnormally. The second, I ingest any form of alcohol into my system. It sets off a phenomenon of craving. I crave alcohol once it's in my body. I also form a mental obsession with where am I going to get the next drink? Where am I going to find the next drink? Who am I going to manipulate so that I can get the next drink? It becomes an ongoing mental obsession. Whether I'm drinking or not, it is constantly in my mind that I need to get a drink. Those are three things that classify me as an alcoholic. I drank against my will. Of course, I didn't want to hurt my parents, my family, my extended family. I didn't want to drop out of school. I didn't want all these things to happen to me. I didn't want to be the ratchet girl that was once in sugar, you know? And that's what people were calling me. So by the 23rd of February 2017, my parents gave me an ultimatum. And they told me, it's either you go to Eden House or you just don't come back here. And I remember it was my second or third day of my hangover. And I really wanted to leave the house so that I could get my fix. Just a small bottle, a quarter, to just drink so that I could get over my hangover. And my mom told me, if you leave this house today, don't come back. And this time I could tell she wasn't bluffing. She was dead serious. So I went into our shamba. I was smoking a cigarette. And two questions came into my heart. I believe this to be HP, which is my higher power. Two voices asked me. One, Wahiga, why do you think you're in all these problems? And I said, because of alcohol. And two, would you admit, just maybe, that you are an alcoholic? And I said, yes. That's what happened. I had instant relief because for the first time in my life, I found out what was wrong with me. And so two people came to counsel me that day, or to talk to me rather. And one was a lady and one was a man. And the lady, she didn't talk to me about my drinking and she didn't lecture me about my drinking because that's what everybody else did. She told me about her drinking. And that got my attention because she was beautiful. Her nails were done. She smelled amazing. Her face was done. She was wearing beautiful, beautiful garments. And she looked happy. Her fingers were not trembling. But yet she drank like I drank. So I asked her, how did you get this way? If you drank the way I drink, how is it possible that you look the way you do? And she told me about a program and a fellowship of men and women who help each other to stay sober. And that day was the turning point in my life in regards to alcohol. So at 4 months sober, I relapsed. And for those 12 hours, I experienced what the big book talks about and what alcoholism is all about. I was noticing that when I was on my fourth drink, people were still on their first drink. And there was a lot of drama. I was happy, then I was sad, then I was crying, then, I was trying to dance and then I fell over. I was embarrassing myself. It was 12 hours of just going back to the way I had been living. And when I woke up the next day, I looked at myself in the mirror and my eyes were swollen. They were red and brown. They were sad. My mouth was swollen as well. And I remember thinking, is this how we're gonna live for the rest of our lives? Like, is this gonna be it? And so I came back to the meetings knowing that I was an alcoholic. Nobody had to tell me anymore, you know. And the program of recovery, it's only a suggestion. And I had not followed the suggestions. So I only took what I wanted, what I liked, and then left the rest. And that's not how it works. So I had the experience for 12 hours of just consecutive drinking to learn and to concede to my innermost self that I am indeed an alcoholic and I surrender and my life is unmanageable and I can't do this anymore. And surely out of one of the most depressing days of my life bloomed and started my journey in recovery. Today I am 3 years sober and my life is unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's like day and night. The things that I'm able to do, the things that I'm grateful for. I wake up in the morning and I know where I slept. I wake up in the morning and I know what I did the day before. I wake up in the morning and I'm not sick. I wake up in the morning and I look forward to the day. I ask my higher power to grant me sobriety because I know all too well that myself, I cannot keep myself sober, but my higher power can. I practice the principles of the program that saved my life. I do service. I do meetings. I have a sponsor, and the sponsor is a woman who's been exactly through what I've been through, another alcoholic woman, but has more time. And she has been able to guide me in the 12 steps of this program that saved my life. And I'm learning a new way of living. I have met my tribe. I have finally met people who are exactly like me, who drank exactly like I did, and for the exact reasons I drank. And I am so grateful. So grateful for my new life. I was able to go back to school. And God willing, in September, I will hopefully graduate. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss for words because I haven't thought of my story in a very long time. So this is my message to you. If you are out there and you are suffering from alcoholism, or you know of someone who is suffering from alcoholism, please know that there is hope, there is help. There are people that are willing to help you, such as the Eden Foundation, which is located in Parklands. There is also a program that exists that is designed for alcoholics. If anything, I hope my story will give you a glimpse of hope. Of strength. Because trust me, if I, Wahiga, can get sober, anybody else can get sober. Anybody else can get sober. So hold on to that there is hope, there is help. Don't discard the alcoholic. The alcoholic is one of the most brilliant, most kind-hearted, most sensitive person that you can ever know. Just know that alcoholism is a sickness and there is a solution. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share widely. Thank you so much for watching.